Welcome, is Marcus Dynasty Fun, as we're going to be doing the three biggest running back overrated players for the upcoming 2022 Dynasty season. I now have a Twitter here, guys. It's Dynasty Dad 1, I believe it is. So you can look that up here. I will put that in the description box so you guys can actually follow me on Twitter, as I will be posting more stuff through that as well, which I feel like is a very good avenue. I've been asked that a million times, and I feel like that's it's going to help out the channel here. We have a DeAndre Swift signed jersey. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We're going to be giving that away here at some point in the summer here, hopefully. We will hit 2,000 subscribers. We have the three running backs. The first one, you let me know where I am on this position here. It's and one of my most underrated running backs was Ezekiel Elliott. One of my most overrated running backs is going to be Tony Pollard. I think if you think of Tony Pollard, you think of a 23-and-a-half-year-old running back. This is what you think, or at least I think, 23, maybe 24-year-old running back that's going to be similar to an Alexander Madison. But what he is he's actually 25, so by the time he's not in Dallas, he's going to be a 26-year-old running back. And honestly, he has an ADP of running back 29. And when you have a running back ADP of 29, you're looking at a guy who's going to be 29th last year. He was 30 to 40% snap share. I am putting my money on Ezekiel Elliott still being the generational talent. I said to even somebody that commented that Zeke and Kamara are basically two players that I believe that can basically repeat the LaShawn McCoy route, the even Adrian Peterson route, the route that you're going to be fantasy relevant as long as you get into that even 27, 28-year range. And so Zeke has a year, 2 years, and there's no guarantee that Pollard is even going to replace Zeke after he is done. He could move on to a different team. And so he's going to be a 26-year-old journeyman at that point. And so Tony Pollard is somebody that I am not buying. I think when you have a guy who's 29th in 2021 and he had over 1,000 yards, Zeke had a torn PCL. What are you looking for, really? You're looking for a Zeke injury at this point, because I don't think, and money tells you as well, that Zeke is not getting the backup role. He is not going to be the backup. Zeke is going to continue to have the starting role, and Zeke's going to have the touchdowns, which are one of the most important fantasy stats in a high-powered offense. So Tony Pollard is going to be relegated to his mostly receiving role, third down role. He's going to have some drives that are himself, but 30-40% snap share, and he's going to be an RB3. I mean, he's worse than like an A.J. Dillon, and we look at who he's ahead of. He's ahead of Kareem Hunt. He's ahead of even James Cook. James Cook has at least the allure of having that upside of being potentially the starter in Buffalo, and as just as good, or maybe even better offense in Buffalo. And he's right around that CEH territory. Some have him above, some have him right below CEH. And CEH still with that draft capital, that first-round draft capital, could be the starter in Kansas City, another amazing offense. And even with CEH, he's had a better season than Tony Pollard. And if you look at the two, it's like I would rather have CEH, the higher upside. The only reason I would not want Tony Pollard is if I am a Zeke owner and I'm scared that Zeke's going to get hurt. Really, it's the same reason why you want Alexander Madison, except that Alexander Madison's younger, for Dalvin Cook. And so that's why Tony Pollard, there was a team that they were desperately in need of an RB2. They have an amazing dynasty roster before that, and they were talking, it was actually a good friend of mine. We actually got, not a debate, but he got an offer. He had Tony Pollard, and Cordell Patterson was the offer. And I said I think that Cordell Patterson is a better fit for his roster. It's a trade that he would probably lose, per se, value-wise. I mean, Cordell Patterson's being drafted later than Tony Pollard. But for his roster, having the Cordell Patterson RB2 spot, I think would have been a potential, that's championship move right there. If Cordell Patterson repeats as an RB1 just in 2022, and let's say he does nothing else after that, that's a championship-type move that you can make now. And Tony Pollard is going to be, again, that RB3, but not somebody that's going to help you defeat some of the major teams that are going to be contending with you. There's going to be a team, that roster, that has Hall and Kamara, or Dobbins and Barkley, or they're going to have two good running backs in the top 15 here. And so you're going to have to try to compete with that. And Cordell Patterson, yes, ended the year horrible. We'll talk about it. But I think that would have been you don't have to win every trade. That would have been a trade that the owner would have lost, but would have been a good position for his fit. You can let me know what you think. The next one is the toughest one, because it was a running back that I absolutely loved when he was a rookie prospect. It's Antonio Gibson. I loved him as a prospect because he was the Alvin Kamara-esque pass-receiving running back that played mostly wide receiver because Kenneth Gainwell was there. And just a dynamic talent. I mean, Adrian Peterson even talked about how great Antonio Gibson was in Washington camp that year, and 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. But Washington has done everything that they possibly can to nuke Antonio. And when I mean nuke, I mean basically destroy his upside, because Jared Patterson and J.D. McKissick, and now they drafted Robinson. It's like they are willing to do anything in their power to take the ball away from Antonio Gibson's hands. Yes, Antonio Gibson was RB11, RB12, but that was with 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. I just don't trust, the Washington offense. I could see Antonio Gibson finishing the year with 5 touchdowns and 1,000 yards. And if you have 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns, you're looking at like an low-end RB2, high-end RB3. I can also see him repeat this 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns if he stays healthy. Yes, he was hurt last year, which is a big no. But I think Antonio Gibson at 24, 2 years in, I think this is the time where you see him migrate away from RB1 because of Washington's horrible, I guess you could say, staff. And I could be wrong with that, but this is my gut telling me that he's going to be used a lot less than we want. And I was an Antonio Gibson owner that was just frustrated because he had some weeks where absolutely disappeared. I mean, we're talking like, it basically felt like he had like 10 rushes for like 15 yards. I mean, you can see in the stats here that he had some games that really nuked you, really destroyed your week. And so when you have that as a running back, it really hurts because he doesn't have that pass catching upside because they have J.D. McKissick. Even though Antonio Gibson can easily be a pass catcher, they choose not to. They choose to use J.D. McKissick. In fact, there was drives that they used all of J.D. McKissick, especially within the 2-minute warning, especially when they were down. And Washington's probably going to be down, especially look at the other offenses, the Eagles, Giants, and not so much. But then Dallas, you have two really good offenses. Well, I would say the Eagles' offense is up and down, but they have really good weapons. The last running back is Chase Edmonds. The Miami backfield is a mess. And honestly, there's going to be somebody that wins out of that. But the reason why I think Chase Edmonds, is the reason he's the highest drafted Miami running back. I don't want the highest drafted one. I want probably one of the lowest drafted ones. I'll take a Raheem Mostert, which was a really late buy, or I'll take a Stoney Michel. I'll take somebody besides Chase Edmonds. He's 26. His ADP is 33. But I look at the other running backs. We'll talk about the running backs that are behind him, which I don't understand why Chase Edmonds is so high. He was 31 in standard. He was 25 in PPR. I mean, and that's his best ever stats. I mean, we're not talking about last year. We're talking those are his best stats ever. So he's never been an RB2, you could say. I mean, top 24. He's never been a RB2. And he's 26. He has shown that even when David Johnson was gone or James Conner was hurt, Chase Edmonds was not a elite running back by any means. And so the most rushing yards he's ever had is 592. I don't think he's going to be the rushing, basically, leader of Miami. I think it'll be somebody else. It will be, Raheem Mostert when he's healthy. Or it could be Myles Gaskin. It could be somebody. I think it will not be, I think it'd be, Salvon Ahmed could be a better running back when it comes in between the tackles than Chase Edmonds. It's just, that's the way it seems to be. Most rushing touchdowns in his entire career is 4. That is not what we want when we want a running back that is going to be drafted as a top 35, 36 running back. And the reasons why is because he's ahead of Ramondre Stevenson. A running back that could easily be the starter. They could move away from Damian Harris. They did that at certain weeks last year. Devin Singletary, which I talked about Devin Singletary being the number 1 overall running back in the last 4 weeks of the 2021 season. Again, that's Michael Carter, who is the younger version, I would say, of Chase Edmonds. But for a team that he could start off a little bit hotter if Breece Hall is still working and adjusting to the NFL level. Think Jonathan Taylor, who is amazing right now, took about 8 weeks to get into that season, so you could potentially draft a Michael Carter and then try to trade before that kind of mid-season hits, or to trade him to the Breece Hall owner there. James Robinson, yes, torn Achilles, but talent-wise has shown that he can play at the NFL level. We'll just see if his burst comes back. And then Melvin Gordon, who is lost, gone, forgotten. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's going to have probably more snaps on the field is Melvin Gordon versus Chase Edmonds on an offense that is a lot less mucky. You do have Javonte Williams, who is going to be the alpha, or will at least be the A1 to Melvin Gordon's A2. So I love all those players ahead of Chase Edmonds. I think Chase Edmonds is a deep flyer. I liked him last year when he was splitting time with James Conner, but it's like now he's a year older in a new system. It's just like these are things that look like to be not the end, but closer to these running backs that you're going to be RB 40 at the end of the year. And it's like, will you be happy with that? And then he's going to be 27. You have a 27-year-old that is RB 25, 30, 40, whatever it is. And it's like, what kind of value does that bring? Not much. His ADP will drop tremendously. So again, this is Marcus Dynasty with ads. These are the top 3 most underrated running backs in the Dynasty 2022 season. All right, peace out. Take care. We'll see you again tomorrow.